So Ambarish, Knowlarity is now a 320 people company. You are based in Delhi as well as in Bangalore, and you're also looking at expanding in other Southeast Asian countries and abroad as well. And you're looking to aggressively go towards that goal of becoming a billion-dollar company. So it would be fantastic to have a few thoughts from you about how do we really go there, how do we really get there, keeping the CEO's role in mind. What are those few leadership lessons which take us towards that billion-dollar goal?
Sure. Now, we want to be a billion-dollar company, but we are not yet. So I think I can talk about it, but this is something that I think a CEO should have to build a billion-dollar company. And hopefully I'll be right. Knowlarity will be a billion-dollar company. My thoughts. I think it is more around how to build up a scalable business. And if you build up a scalable business, so $1 billion may actually be a small number. You may building up much bigger company. Look at Flipkart, it's already past $1 billion. Mitra, InMobi, all Indian companies, Zoho, for example. Right? If you do the right things, $1 billion is a milestone. You can go far beyond.
Perfectly attainable.
Yeah, perfectly attainable, and I think people should think big as they are building a company. The world is very large today. The opportunity in India are very large. But there are a bunch of things that you have to keep in mind, and that is what we, as we build up Knowlarity, have kept in mind. Is to make sure that in our DNA there's an opportunity to build up a really scalable business always remain. So if I have to start out, I think the first thing that is super important is strategy, which is your strategy has to be right. You should be trying to do the right thing. You might end up trying to build up a product that is just not needed, or you might end up trying to build a product for the market which is very small. Right? If you do these two things, everything else you do in execution doesn't matter. You put Steve Jobs on execution, it still doesn't matter because the market size is only $10 million. So you have to have the strategy right, which is going after the right market with the right product. And that is what you typically companies figure out in first 1 or 2 years, whether the assumptions, whether the hypothesis was correct or not. That's the strategy part.
And it's extremely important to make that choice at the right moment. And solve strategy is all about the right choice, and very often because we kind of get distracted, we don't end up making the right choice. We end up possibly investing in those areas which seem very attractive in the beginning.
I would say that's a part of execution, right? So as you're trying to do this, so I divide whole building of companies in two parts. One is you should be doing the right things and you should do it properly. I think which is execution part. In the execution, I think there are three things. One is the people. You cannot do it alone, right? Even YouTube, which is smallest set of companies, so number of smallest team which built up a great company, had 12. So you need right set of people with the right functional expertise to be able to build up the company, and get rid of wrong people. That's equally important. Second is capital. Right? Capital is very important. Right? Nobody is building a company nowadays with the speed that is required. The way market has become very dynamic. You need capital. You need to be able to spend money without thinking with a long-term view in your mind, rather than trying to meet the payroll on month-on-month basis. It's very important. And then third is what I call policies and processes. As you build up the company, you have a people, you have a capital, you're paying their salaries on time. You need to do something. We are doing the same thing repeatedly. So nowadays, when scalable $1 billion, $100 billion, $10 billion businesses get built, same thing is being done 100 times, 500 times, 1,000 times, million times, billion times, right? What that allows is you focus on one little widget, right, and make it real perfect, and then it gets repeated a billion times. So whatever investment you made in making this thing right, you leverage that a billion times, and that is how the value gets created. So you need repeatable process in the company, you need repeatable product, you need repeatable things in sales processes, you need repeatability in technology, everything repeatable. You do it once and then you get it like billion times. So these are three things which are very
How do you
important.
first of all find those processes? How do you really develop those processes? And then how do you make sure that those processes are, replicated again and again? So any key thoughts or any key lessons on how to do that?
I think these are two very different things. In my McKinsey days, in McKinsey used to be called hardware and software of the company. Hardware is people, and software is the processes. You may get the very best people from outside, and you can put them in shitty processes,
Exactly.
and they'll get destroyed. That I figured was being able to have very good clarity at a very high level what you want, right? So for example, Apple is doing iPod, right? Or your devices, entertainment devices. Once that domain or the scope is limited, that the focus is only entertainment devices, you only have to build up processes which service that bigger goal. Right?
Exactly.
So your scope is limited. Then you say, in technology, what all things do we need to do to be able to build up these kind of products, right? And then you can break it down. This is what is called structuring in consulting in McKinsey in times, right? So what are the challenges going to be in terms of maintaining this process in the operations, and you build up those checks and balances as well. That is typically how you think. So to answer to your question, in nutshell, will be if your scope is very well defined, you go through how you would do it once, you go through that process, right? And then you break it down to smaller pieces, and you figure out what you need at every stage of that process, of the stages in terms of ingredients, and make it available to you. Use common sense, just works out.
Okay. And how important is it to, now for a guy who really believes in the balanced scorecard, and so for instance when Mobile first implemented the balanced scorecard, even the truck drivers knew what the overall strategy of the company should be. But I mean, that's one philosophy that everybody, even down to the last level, should clearly know what the bigger picture is and what the strategy is, and they should be aligned to it. But that's not really the only philosophy. There are other philosophies of doing business as well. So my question is, to what extent is it important for, say, the gentleman or the lady who is doing sales and who is kind of doing sales repeatedly, or maybe the gentleman or the lady who is in support, to really understand the bigger picture of the business? What is it that we are trying to achieve in terms of, say, financially or as a company, or in terms of our values? How important do you think is it?
I think it's very important. So I don't know if the balanced scorecard way of communicating with them makes sense. But see, human beings want, today's employees spend 8 to 10 hours, literally 2/3 of their waking lives in the office. That's pretty much is the life, right? And life needs purpose. And being part of something big, which is going to make an impact, gives that purpose. And that's what makes them feel good, right? It makes them feel connected to something big. But there has to be incentive structure which is linked to sales, right? There has to be incentive structure which is linked to customer care or technology development, which is the core, part of things that they are doing.
Right.
So both are important. I don't know. I feel it's 80-20. Some may say 30-70. But nevertheless, a difficult milestone. Out of 20 companies, 50 companies that start, probably one will reach there. But it can be done, I feel.
Absolutely. And as long as we have people who are, as long as we have people like you who can inspire people like us to look at it as a milestone and dream big, I'm sure it's going to be easier for everyone.
Best of luck.
Thank you so much, Ambarish.
Thank you so much.